Hey everyone, it's John Heath here again for Milton Rose Learning with another Let's Learn lesson on Frankenstein key quotes. Okay, so it's bolts in the head and bolts of electricity here going through bodies. So we're going to look at three of the best themes that can come up on your exam papers and in your kind of essays at school. And then we'll break down for you three of the best quotes to fit in with each of those themes. So hopefully this should be a really useful kind of lesson really. So first off, we have, in terms of theme, the danger of knowledge. Okay, learning and knowing too much. So let's have a look first. So we have Victor Frankenstein first. It's got to be him, hasn't it, really? With the first quote about the danger of knowledge. Now he says, "Learn from me, if not by my precepts, at least by my example. How dangerous is the acquirement of knowledge?" And the key lexical choice there is clearly dangerous. So Victor is effectively warning us there. This is kind of Shelley's authorial intention here, to warn us that unchecked ambition and just the blind advance of science can destroy both the seeker and others. It's dangerous to acquire certain types of knowledge, as we can see in this text. And I think that goes to the conceptual core of this narrative. I think that's a really great quote to start with. Then we have Walton, who has a slightly different view. "One man's life or death were but a small price to pay for the acquirement of the knowledge which I sought." Or seeked, effectively. So Walton echoes Victor's dangerous mindset, and it shows up to a point how ambition can override morality. Once kind of a scientist kind of gets it into their head to kind of acquire this dangerous knowledge, there's almost nothing we can do. Okay. And you can see that in the present day. It's kind of all the same, from kind of things like cloning to AI and things like that. But it's interesting knowledge, but is it dangerous for humanity? So the novel has a real kind of resonance in the modern day as well. It's more than just kind of about Frankenstein's monster. It's actually about, it poses quite interesting questions about science in the modern day there. Okay, right, back to Victor Frankenstein. "I'd worked hard for nearly 2 years for the sole purpose of infusing life into an inanimate body." So he has obviously this obsessive ambition, and it isolates him and blinds him to the ethical consequences of his actions, because from a religious perspective, especially in this period, you're effectively playing God. You are trying to create life where there is no life. And a religious reading of the text says that's sacrilegious. It goes against kind of especially Christian teachings in this period, that we should never ever play God. And by doing that, you're only going to bring calamity down on us all and God's vengeance, effectively, if I'm analysing it from a religious perspective, which I kind of am at this point. So yeah, and look at the use of imagery as well, like or the juxtaposition, infusing life into an inanimate body, so giving life to a body that's dead, effectively, and it shows the unnatural nature of Victor's towering ambitions. Okay, let's look at the second theme then, isolation and loneliness. Okay, something which may affect us all from time to time. So we have the creature. Let's just call him the creature rather than the monster. I think we'll humanise him slightly. "I am alone and miserable. Man will not associate with me." So when the creature has been created, the creature's misery ultimately stems from a total rejection by society and his creator. The creature is actually, I'm kind of, when I teach this, I'm quite what's the word, sensitive to the creature. The creature didn't ask to be born, and then he gets ostracized and kind of isolated, and I don't think that's right. The creature is kind of human up to a certain point and feels the need for recognition from humans, and I think that's the ultimate tragedy of the creature. He's created and then ostracized by Victor. Okay, back to Victor Frankenstein. "I shunned the face of man. All sound of joy or complacency was torture to me." So it shows when Victor is trying to gain this knowledge, he isolates himself after the fallout from his experiments, and it shows how his guilt fuels his loneliness. And look at the lexical choices there. Torture with all the negative connotations that entails. Shunned the face of man. He can't talk to anybody anymore. Ultimately, his search for knowledge has just led to his own downfall and ruin. It's all been a fool's errand in total. And then back to the creature. Increase of knowledge only discovered to me more clearly what a wretched outcast I was. So learning for the creature brought only pain, not belonging, and it only reinforced his alienation, because as he gained more knowledge, he realised how isolated and wretched he really was. So it didn't lead to insight, it just led to kind of his own mental torture in that sense. So not all knowledge is good knowledge. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. I think that's what Shelley's trying to say there. Okay, and then the last thing we'll look at is responsibility. Okay, so let's have a little look at that. So we've got 3 quotes for responsibility here. So first off, we have the creature again. You are my creator, but I am your master. Obey. So Victor's failure to take responsibility here for his creation leads to a dangerous reversal of power. Okay, kind of look at the language there about creator, which has religious connotations of God, obviously. Master, implying kind of almost slave and master relations, and obey, and the use of exclamation mark there. Linguistically, it's very, very interesting. You could really have some fun analysing that in a kind of P paragraph in one of your essays. And then back to the creature again. I ought to be thy Adam, but I am rather the fallen angel. You can see here, obviously, Adam from Adam and Eve mythology, and the fallen angel, obviously, kind of implying the devil. This is a book steeped in Christian mythology, and you definitely want to tease that out if you're going to get the high grades here for context. So the creature accuses Victor of abandoning him in this quote, and highlights the moral consequences of irresponsible creation. You created me, but you've turned me into this devil. I didn't ask for this, basically, is what's being said. And that's why I'm sympathetic to the creature. He didn't ask to be born, but he had it all thrust upon him, didn't he? And only tragedy fell from that. Okay, and then the last quote, Victor again. The last word to Victor Frankenstein. I had been the author of unalterable evils. Okay, real moral discourse flowing throughout this narrative. Victor acknowledges, too late though, the devastating consequences of shirking his responsibilities. Look at the language. Unalterable evils. I mean, evil, you can't get any more emotive lexis than that. And unalterable. I can't change this. And that's the ultimate tragedy of Frankenstein. Once life is created, it acquires a life of its own, and you can't go back. Okay, you cannot go back. It's irrefutable, immutable, I would say, if I was teaching the lesson at school. And ultimately, that is the massive lesson to take from this. Once we create this new knowledge, whether that's AI or cloning or anything else in real life, we can't put it back. And that is ultimately extremely dangerous. And that's why Frankenstein is still important to read, even in the modern era. Okay, right then. So, obviously, hopefully you've really enjoyed that. I mean, I wish we could tease more out. There's so much meaty kind of moral philosophy in that text. But don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon. If you've got any points that you want to raise, or you'd like to kind of debate it and stuff, please do. Just throw down any comments, and we'll always reply to them as best we can. And please share with all your friends, because we want to grow the channel now even more if possible. So it just remains to say, hopefully you've enjoyed that kind of moral conundrum that we've thrown out there with Frankenstein. Please do use the quotes and stuff in your essays. It'd be really nice if it helps you get better grades. And it just remains to say, thanks for listening, and take care.